Hello and welcome to An Interview in History. This week's episode takes place February 2nd, 1865, and we'll be talking with John Wilkes Booth, that famous actor and business owner. He was also a strong supporter of the Confederacy. Hello, Mr. Booth, and welcome. Please, call me John. And may I call you Stephen? Of course. Now, John, tell me a bit about your early life. Well, let me see. My parents were noted British Shakespearean actor Junius Brutus Booth and Mary Ann Holmes, who moved to the United States from England in June 1821. They purchased a 150-acre farm near Bel Air, Maryland, where I was born in a 4-room log house on May 10th, 1838. I was the 9th of 10 children. I was named after the English radical politician John Wilkes, a distant relative. I understand you were quite an athletic boy. Yes, I was athletic and popular, and I became skilled at horsemanship and fencing. I attended the Bel Air Academy, and was an indifferent student whom the headmaster thought was not deficient in intelligence, but disinclined to take advantage of the educational opportunities afforded him. You went through a couple of other schools as well, correct? Yes. I attended the Quaker-run Milton Boarding School for Boys, located in Sparks, Maryland, and later St. Timothy's Hall, an Episcopal military academy in Catonsville, Maryland. At the Milton School, students recited classical works by such authors as Cicero, Herodotus, and Tacitus. Students at St. Timothy's wore military uniforms and were subject to a regimen of daily formation drills and strict discipline. However, I left school at 14 after my father's death. And didn't you have an encounter with a fortune teller? I did, while attending the Milton boarding school. I met a Romani fortune-teller who read my palm and pronounced a grim destiny, telling me that I would have a grand but short life, doomed to die young and meeting a bad end. I often had moments of melancholy because of it, but look at me, I'm still here. When did you first become interested in acting? Let me see. By age 16, I was interested in the theater and in politics, and I became a delegate from Bel Air to a rally by the Know Nothing Party for Henry Winter Davis, the anti-immigrant party's candidate for Congress in the 1854 elections. I aspired to follow in the footsteps of my father and my actor brothers Edwin and Junius Brutus Jr. I began practicing elocution daily in the woods around my home, Tudor Hall, and studying Shakespeare. So then, when did you make your stage debut? Well, Stephen, I made my stage debut at age 17, on August 14th, 1855, in the supporting role of the Earl of Richmond in Richard III at Baltimore Charles Street Theater. The audience jeered at me when I missed some of my lines. I also began acting at Baltimore's Holiday Street Theater, owned by John T. Ford, where my father and brothers had performed frequently. It wasn't long before I joined the stock company of the Arch Street Theater in Philadelphia, where I played for a full season. I asked that I be billed as J.B. Wilkes, a pseudonym meant to avoid comparison with other members of my family. I will admit that I developed into an outrageous scene stealer, but I played my parts with such heightened enthusiasm that the audiences idolized me. In February 1858, I played in Lucretia Borgia at the Arch Street Theater. On opening night, I experienced stage fright and stumbled over one of my lines. Instead of introducing myself by saying, "Madam, I am Petruchio Pandolfo," I stammered, "Madam, I'm Petruchio Damn it, who am I?" causing the audience to roar with laughter. Now that's funny. Did that experience enhance your career? I have to say that I did become increasingly popular with audiences for my energetic performances. I played the part of Horatio in Hamlet, alongside my older brother Edward in the title role. However, Edmund led me to the theatre's footlights and said to the audience, "I think he's done well, don't you?" In response, the audience applauded loudly and cried, "Yes, yes!" In all, I performed in 83 plays in 1858. I have to say that of all Shakespearean characters, my favorite role was Brutus, the slayer of a tyrant. How were you received by the critics? Well, some critics called me the handsomest man in America and a natural genius, and noted me as having an astonishing memory. Others were mixed in their estimation of my acting. You see, because I am 5 feet 8 inches tall, with jet black hair, and am lean and athletic, I was received very well. A noted Civil War reporter, George Alfred Townsend, described me as a muscular, perfect man with curly hair, like a Corinthian capital. My stage performances were often characterized by my contemporaries as acrobatic and intensely physical, with me leaping upon the stage and gesturing with passion. I am an excellent swordsman, although I occasionally cut myself with my own sword. That sounds very dangerous, John. It was, but it added to the realism of my characters. It also won me celebrity with theatre-goers because of my romantic personal attraction. I know that my acting may not have been as precise as my brother Edwin's, but my handsome appearance enthralled women, and as the late 1800s drew to a close, I was becoming wealthy as an actor, earning $20,000 a year. Is it true you were shot once? Yes, while I was performing in Columbus, Georgia. I was shot accidentally in my hotel, leaving a wound some thought would end my life, but by all appearances I am still here. Let's switch subjects a bit, John. Talk about your business ventures. I chose to invest some of my growing wealth in various enterprises during the 1860s, including land speculation in Boston's Back Bay section. I also started a business partnership with John A. Esler, manager of the Cleveland Academy of Music, and with Thomas Mears to develop oil wells in northwestern Pennsylvania, where an oil boom had started in August of 1859, following Edwin Drake's discovery of oil there, initially calling our venture Dramatic Oil, but later renaming it Fuller Farm Oil. We invested in a 31.5-acre site along the Allegheny River in Franklin, Pennsylvania. In January 1864, we were producing an oil well named Wilhelmina for Mears' wife, yielding 25 barrels of crude daily. We were selling shares with a prospectus featuring my celebrity status as Mr. J. Wilkes Booth, a successful and intelligent operator in oil lands. Unfortunately, the partners were impatient to increase the well's output and attempted the use of explosives, which wrecked the well and ended production. That's terrible. What did you do next? I withdrew from the oil business with a substantial loss of my $6,000 investment. Oh my, that had to hurt. Indeed, it did, but I moved on. Let's talk a bit about your love interests, if you don't mind. Yes, let's do, Stephen. I have just become infatuated with Lucy Lambert Hale, the daughter of U.S. Senator John P. Hale of New Hampshire, and we are secretly engaged when I received my mother's blessing for our marriage plans. My mother wrote to me and said, "You have so often been dead in love, but be well assured she is really and truly devoted to you." I'm going to compose a handwritten Valentine card for her on February 13th, expressing my adoration. That's really nice. I'll look forward to more news about that. Now, John, let's talk about a touchier subject. Your views on politics versus your family's. That's fine, we can do that. I am a pro-Confederate, but my family is divided. I'm outspoken in my love of the South and equally outspoken in my hatred of Lincoln. As the Civil Wars continued to go on, I've increasingly quarreled with my brother Edwin, who declined to make stage appearances in the South and refused to listen to my denunciations of the North and Lincoln. I was arrested in St. Louis while on a theater tour, when I said that I wished the president and the whole damn government would go to hell. I was charged with making treasonous remarks against the government, but was released when I took an oath of allegiance to the Union and I paid a substantial fine. I was arguing vehemently with my pro-Union brother Edwin about Lincoln and the war, and Edwin finally told me that I was no longer welcome at his New York home. I also rallied against Lincoln in conversations with my sister Asia. Good Lord! Lincoln's appearance and his pedigree, his coarse low jokes and anecdotes, his vulgar smile, and his policies are a disgrace to the seat he holds. He is made the tool of the North to crush out slavery. You do have strong convictions, John, but I'm afraid we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope to talk to you again sometime. Yes, of course, and thank you as well. Of course, we all know the outcome. John Wilkes Booth assassinated President Abraham Lincoln at the Ford's Theater on April 15, 1865. 2 weeks after the assassination, Booth, fatally wounded in the neck, was dragged from a barn to the porch of the farmhouse where he was hiding. And he died 3 hours later, age 26. The bullet had pierced 3 vertebrae and partially severed his spinal cord, paralyzing him. He was exactly 2 weeks short of his 27th birthday. In his dying moments, he whispered, "Tell my mother I died for my country." As dawn was breaking, he died of asphyxiation because of his wounds. In Booth's pocket were found a compass, a candle, pictures of 5 women, and his diary, where he had written of Lincoln's death, "Our country owed all of her troubles to him, and God simply made me the instrument of his punishment." Join us next week when we talk with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the author and creator of Sherlock Holmes. Until then, take care.